Welcome to Real Politik. Sir Kier Starmer is now the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Long live the new flesh. A new dawn has broken, has it not?
The first episode of Real Politik as an official resistance podcast.
Hashtag, yep, Starmer is Putin. This is our 300th episode. I thought about having a big shebang, but, it's just too tired after the election. I'm turning 30 soon. I'm getting old. I wanted to
shut your shit.
I wanted to see. I'm not as spry on my feet as I used to be. So I thought let's leave the guests out for today.
Were you ever spry on your feet?
Mentally on my figurative feet.
Okay.
Anyway, so I sort of
He's got
wanted
feet
to.
on the brain, this guy.
Raphael Bear. No, I was kidding about not having a guest. Hello, Raphael. Oh shit! So he's had some kind of medical emergency. Fuck. But yeah. I basically, today I wanted to go in dry, so to speak. Comedy without a net. But before we get to the election results, we're going to go through some of the good ones. I think there's a lot to celebrate, actually.
I was expecting to be a lot more depressed today.
Yeah, because guys, we fucking did it. We ended neoliberalism. Rachel Reeves is now the Chancellor of the United Kingdom. Every other centre-left establishment deep state government in the last 40 years has been some kind of continuation of the neoliberal epoch. But this time, it's different. Britain will be the exception, all thanks to the radical economic thinking of Rachel Reeves. Big hand. Big hand. But, of course, it's not all sunshine and flowers. Whilst we are extremely pleased that the most radical Chancellor, who was previously, in fact, the most radical shadow Chancellor that the Labour Party have ever had, we're delighted that she's got in, but unfortunately not everything quite went our way, so it is our solemn duty today, on behalf of the entire RP Corps and the Real Politik podcast, following his victory in the 2024 UK general election, we are calling for the resignation of Sir Kier Starmer as leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
With the heaviest of hearts, it's simply something that has to be done.
This is tough for me. I love Starmer. Starmer's my friend, but that picture of senile Starmer leaning against a chair to support his frail frame upon entering number 10 sealed it for me. And just as I speculated, as he walked into John Healey in that video during the election, this man, whilst an admirable public servant, I'm afraid, is simply not up for the job due to his advanced years, which I, of course, can now relate to. But that, if anything, makes me more empathetic for his plight. And because I care about Kier Starmer so much, we are calling for the resignation of Sir Kier Starmer.
Exactly. It's his long-term health is more important, and it also allows him to transition to a more sort of ceremonial role. He could be like a newly created sort of chairman of the party, so you could have a kind of Starmerism without Starmer sort of arrangement going on.
Without Starmerism, even?
Yeah, abstract it a level further. Just pure, unadulterated streeting.
Good lord. Well, that would be a radical break with something.
Reality.
The publicly funded health service. Yeah. So, thanks to Kier Starmer appointing his new cabinet, we've got a big list of melt pricks to go through one by one and give you the lowdown on. But before all that, I thought we should just recap the results a bit, like the good ones, the bad ones. Why are we not that depressed? Like, really? Like, why are we no more depressed than usual? What is it really, rather than
business
Rachel
as usual in some ways?
Well, Kier, that's fucking Starmer, isn't it? Business as usual. It's like, what has really changed? But yeah, obviously, we all cheered when the exit poll came in. Well, I didn't personally, but I understand a lot of people did. But really, when I was celebrating was around 3 a.m. As the audio and video record shows, it was around 3 a.m. when Jeremy Corbyn won his seat in Islington North. An unalloyed positive, something that multiple times I've literally been crying over, like just tears welling up in my eyes at how beautiful it is that you can still beat these cunts. That they were like, nah, we're taking everything from you. We're fucking, you guys are done. You guys are out. You don't even get, not only is Corbynism no longer in the ascendancy in the Labour Party, you don't even get Corbyn. You don't get him in Labour, you don't get him in fucking Parliament. Well, fuck you, because we do. And all of you can suck it. And we'll be we'll be coming back to that later. Not specifically anyone like sucking it. I mean, we'll be returning to the Corbyn issue. But there were some other good results.
Yes, yeah. Multiple independents getting in, mostly running on the platform of Gaza and how shit Labour were on it. Obviously, the Greens increasing their seats. They're not without their flaws, the Green Party of England and Wales, but they are certainly better than Labour at the moment by a long way. And it is mostly parties considerably worse than them that they're nicking seats off, so that's good. And again, has riled up the worst people.
Absolutely. Well, I guess that I was going to say the highlight, but there were two highlights of the Green surge. There was that cunt from Gomez losing in Brighton.
Yeah, really funny. Yeah.
One of two 90s
Maybe he'll have
rockers.
enough hours in his day now.
It turns out that you can't win for the Labour Party under Kier Starmer if you were in a prominent rock band in the 90s, basically, because Dave Rowntree of Blur also lost.
I've got to say, that's very generous to Gomez. Like, Blur were legitimately very successful for a number of years and still are. Gomez were hyped for about a year in like 1998, 99 sort of time.
Well, same era. They didn't win the Battle of Britpop, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it was the other singer from Gomez that had the funny voice, not even the guy that ran. Disgraceful. Fuck him.
Well, if they'd have run the guy with the funny voice, he might have got on well
they
in
might
today's
have won.
Labour Party.
Yeah.
No,
it's not the same funny voice. If anything, it might have been seen as a threat to Kier Starmer.
Tanks on his lawn, like him from Clacton. And then, obviously, the other great one was the detestable Fangham Debonair. Fangham Singh, who inexplicably changed her surname to fucking Debonair. The working-class MP who went to 2 private schools.
I think we all knew she was going to lose her seat, and the only real question was going to be, was it going to be fairly close, or was she going to get absolutely hammered? She got absolutely hammered.
I heard a report of either polling day or the day before that she was literally like shouting at a canvasser, like, "You have made me lose my seat! You have ended my career!" And
she just seems like every story I've ever heard about her just makes her seem like the most ungracious, I hate the little people sort of person in politics, and that's covering some ground. Like, even Jess Phillips, you'll meet the odd person, it's like, oh, she's quite nice when I met her.
Yeah.
You know, Fangham Debonair is like Jess Phillips on steroids, not literally. That would be terrifying.
No, she's really fucking awful.
Yeah.
Working class my arse.
I think the revealing stories for me about Fangham Debonair over the years. So there was one when she was like, she had like the shadow housing brief. But these are both from when she had the shadow housing brief, actually. That should be the position where it's both easiest to oppose the Tories on, and also where the centre, the nominal centre or centre-left, have enough in common with us that they can keep us happy easily. But what in fact happened was one of her friends was like a slum landlord in Bristol, and her tenants were having to text the landlord with like pictures of the mushrooms that were growing in the mouldy parts of their flat, which was half the flat.
Typical Bristol, just off their head on fucking psychedelics. Like
the landlord was like texting them back like, "Oh, have them for lunch, have them for lunch." And they were like forwarded, so they were all like tweeting them at Fangham like, "This is your friend. This is one of your closest political allies laughing at me for renting their flat and not having somewhere fit for human habitation." She just completely blanked them. And then, of course, shortly after that, COVID hit, which fucked up a lot of people's ability to pay the rent, a lot of landlords and regular homeowners' ability to pay the mortgage and stuff as well. And her solution to, like, the rent crisis was, if you get a rent holiday, you know, if you go 3 months without paying your rent or whatever, her great policy was you have to pay it back like as a loan on top of your rent with rent increases. So she was essentially proposing something like the exact terms of it. She was essentially proposing like a baked in 12% rent rise or something for every tenant that experienced any financial difficulty on top of the massive rent rises that would come. These people are open class enemies.
Also, as our
You
friend
celebrate
Rob,
them.
a boy named Posh, pointed out, she now looks exactly like Johnny Greenwood. They've got the same floppy haircut and probably the same stance on Israel.
I can't possibly condone that, even though it's 100% true.
I also feel like her massive fringe is responsible for her bizarre posture in all the clips of her when Carla Denyer won in Bristol and Fangham's just standing there like with her neck tilted up like 500 degrees upwards. Like, it's just
all the other like Labour campaigners around her, probably all also raging. Some of them will also have lost their jobs because they'll have worked in her office. But they're all politely clapping, trying to put a brave face on it and do the polite thing. And she's just stood there with a look of hatred. Like, you've took my job that I'm entitled to for the next 40 years.
Yeah, like her arms folded. I was
literally looking down her nose and going to great lengths to do so from that position.
I was going to be a member of the government. But yeah, I reckon that she literally has to tilt her head up that high to see because of her haircut. But I've been there. That was all good. The other independents who did very well, like the highlight for me was John Ashworth, who I voted for as my MP in 2015, getting beaten by a pro-Palestine independent, who I'm sure also was able to make political hay of John Ashworth's unhinged diatribe against Bangladeshis in the final week of the election, which is an incredibly fucking stupid thing to do if you represent a seat in Leicester, the most ethnically diverse seat in the country. Yeah, as well as his support for the leadership's line on Palestine, that completely did for him. He got absolutely rinsed there, which is just glorious. You know, he, again, like Fangham, he thought he was going to be a minister in the government, a secretary of state. He thought he was going to serve in government at the cabinet level, not as a junior minister or anything, but no, not even in Parliament. Starmer has not put either of those I mentioned into the House of Lords just yet, but he is currently stacking the upper chamber, as we will get to in a little bit. So,
but he's going to abolish the Lords, so it's fine.
There's still hope. Oh yeah, and he's going to make it so that all these fucking 79-year-olds he put in there are going to have to step down in like a year, because he's going to bring in an age limit in the House of Lords. Like, so you have to step down when you're 80.
Oh no, we've misinterpreted him. The age limit is you've got to be at least 70.
I mean, I think that's
similar to how our government's, the Supreme Court.
It's not far off how politics works anyway, but yeah.
Well, yeah, both our countries have sort of life representatives, don't they? People who just you can't dislodge them. Anyway, if you didn't get the tone of my voice, I don't think Starmer's going to do any of that. Basically, every government is like, yeah, we're going to do some shit to the House of Lords, and usually what that amounts to is just putting more of their political allies in it.
Because it's popular, right? People don't like the House of Lords.
No, everyone... they don't at all. No one likes the House.
It's one of those
Lords.
Campaign promises that it's like, we'll do that, totally.
Yeah, but Johnny Just Shave It Reynolds, who did manage to get into the cabinet, that Blairite tosser was saying on TV, like, oh, I'm sure, I really hope that we'll be able to find a new role for John Ashworth. So possibly that piece of shit will rise to the top. In
the
terms
Labour
of
Party always needs bag carriers, get him doing constituency casework.
Yeah, I think he's a floater. That piece of shit will be back up.
100% a floater, yeah. They'll put him in a by-election within a couple of years. Nailed on.
Yeah. Leicester watchers, stay tuned for our rundown of the cabinet in a little bit, because, well, we've got the MP that I voted for in Leicester in 2015 out on his arse, but in terms of people who won, we have Yair's local MP in 2015 who he did not vote for at the time. A much more impressive record than me. Did I tell you I voted Green this time, Yair?
Oh, no, you didn't mention.
Yeah, I did. Well, it was that or Tory, to be honest.
He went against the endorsement that we at this podcast had democratically decided on. You know, we endorse the Conservative Party, and he goes out and votes. I voted SNP, so I can't really talk.
I tactically voted Green, but my heart was with the Conservatives. No, fuck it. Let's run down the seats we're really glad the Conservative Party won in. Well, first off, East Surrey, the seat I'm in. It's just wrong. It's just wrong, the idea that Labour ever take East Surrey. I'm not having it. This is a Conservative place. We have Tory values here. I'm, again, not having it. Not having Tom Bowell.
They're allowed a token hard leftist with, like, jester's privilege, but that's it. That's just you.
Yeah, I want to be the most left-wing person in any room in the whole of East Surrey. Furthermore, I was not going to vote for a fucking person called Tom Bowell. I was not going to do anything to have a person with the surname Bowell represent my constituency.
The state of British surnames these days.
Lots in that area. Yeah. To talk. Well, we already got in Debonair, didn't we? Although, like I say, not her actual surname.
It just makes it weirder.
Extra weird, yeah. And she was like doing classical music at the time, so it just makes her come off like a right pretentious twat. Just thought, oh yeah, this will make me sound like it's the Renaissance or something. I'm
Lord.
A Renaissance
say what you will about Hal Huberman, he's at least gone through life with a stupid name. Like he's had the good and the bad. You can't just pick a stupid name at an age where everyone's too polite to bully you for it.
That's so true. And Huberman got in, didn't he?
No, he didn't. He didn't. I thought he did. I'm sure someone on election night looked in, but I tweeted about it today and replied to someone that was asking about him, and then I quickly fact checked it just to make sure, and he came fourth. He was
fuck.
The Lib Dems won the seat, and he also came beneath the Tories and Reform. He got 6% odd of the votes. Hal Huberman documented failure. You must retire. You have let down the Huberman name.
The proud Huber. He was talking about the Huberman name. He's like, my grandfather Val Huberman served in World War One and was killed alongside Frank Gapes or something.
Generations of Hubermen busted their balls to put you in that position to run for this big job, this great public service, and you blew it. You fucking cry-arsed on Twitter about people being mean about your name. And you lost to Reform, who may or may not have had a real person running against you.
Ridiculous. Once again, Yair, can you remind the listeners of whether or not it's anti-Semitic to make fun of the name Hal Huberman?
Oh, no. That's just normal.
There you have it, from the horse's mouth.
It is anti-Semitic to make fun of the band Hoobastank, though. We're all agreed on that.
It's anti-Semitic to make any criticism of Kier Starmer whatsoever.
Yes.
But in terms of other Tory victories to celebrate, Sunak beat the Controls and Immigration mug guy, which is great because Sunak will hate being an MP now.
Everyone loses in that outcome. Yep. It's brilliant.
And also, again, I was just not having another Labourite Tom taking power.
Nobody has ever wanted to be an MP more than that Tom wanker, and nobody has ever wanted not to have to bother with being an MP any more than Rishi Sunak. As soon as he realised it was not a winnable election.
Perfect. Honestly, it's perfect. Sunak now slogging it as opposition leader. David Cameron's already stepped down from shadow cabinet. He's like, no, opposition's too small time for me. Lord Cameron, former Prime Minister. And then, what was the other one where I'm really glad the Tories won? Oh, Chingford.
We've always rated Ian Duncan Smith here, and there's no other reason for celebrating this. We just love
that was always my favourite Guardian editorial in praise of Ian Duncan Smith, which is real, by the way. Look it up.
They've actually moved significantly to the right since they published that, unbelievably.
Big time. But again, it's. I mean, I don't hold Pfizer in the same regard as I do Jeremy Corbyn, but, you can't get away with what they did to her. Labour couldn't get away with purging a candidate like that and then still romp home with the seat. I think that would be wrong. That would fuck with my sense of injustice. So, again, delighted that the vote was split enough there that Ian Duncan Smith defeated that scab councillor who wasn't even from Chingford or Woodford Green. But yeah, Labour got like 411 seats, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including my MP, apparently.
Oh, Anna
Turley's
Turley.
back.
Oh, for fuck's sake. You voted Green, didn't you?
I did. I did my best to keep her out, but she's back.
My Green brother.
And
I've
it's
always
funny,
said.
though, looking at the results, like, it is 100% because a bunch of former Conservative voters went Reform this time. Like,
Yeah,
the numbers
yeah.
match up perfectly. She
Farage
didn't
done
gain,
it.
like, any votes.
And have you seen the stats, yeah, like, that Starmer's Labour got a lower percentage of the vote than Corbyn in 2017, and fewer actual votes than Corbyn in 2017 or 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they only got 1% higher a percentage of the vote than Corbyn in 2019. It's really not... They do not have a considerable amount more popular support than the left-wing politics of Jeremy Corbyn do. They've just basically worked out how to game the system. It's casino
100%.
politics. You know
Well,
what I
that,
mean?
and I think the Democrats are quite jealous of the Labour Party because all they kind of did was sit around for 15 years and wait for their opponents to collapse. I know, yeah, there was Corbyn and he tried, but the Democrats just wish they could just sit there and have Trump die, you know, and just win by default.
Well, in terms of when they weren't trying to get Corbyn out, the Labour right, Starmer's wing of the party, they did just sit on their asses for almost 5 years when he was leader. When it came to actually trying to defeat the Tories, they were working very hard to get rid of their own leader. But when it came to defeat the Tories, they were just like, right, let's let our enemy make some more mistakes, you know?
Oh, man.
But, you know, they basically, the fuckers, they wanted to say, we are ascendant, and the politics of Jeremy Corbyn are fucking dead in the water. They are out. If we put up not just a Corbynite, but literally Jeremy Corbyn, if you put up a literally Jeremy Corbyn against generic fucking Labour suit, who, by the way, in a supreme moment of hubris from the Labour Party, also has made literally millions off of private healthcare. Oh, and by the way, is a Nepo baby. He didn't, start the company or anything, but he has made a lot of money off it personally. The people of Great Britain, and the people of Islington North specifically, they will always opt for the generic Labour suit with extensive links to private healthcare over Jeremy Corbyn, and it turns out that was a hubristic assumption on the part of the Labour Party, and I think some of the people in the party knew that, and I think that is why they let Diane Abbott run as a Labour MP in the end, because they knew that whilst there is large crossover between her base of support and Jeremy Corbyn, there would be people campaigning for her on kind of anti-racist grounds as well, who wouldn't necessarily be sympathetic to Corbyn. So they didn't want these two, not identical, but very similar battles in these two fronts opened up in London, pretty much on either side of Kier Starmer's own constituency. So they were like, okay, fuck it, we'll just concede that to her and put everything, fucking everything, into defeating Jeremy Corbyn. So all the pricks were down there. Tom Watson on the last day of the election, Patrick Hennigan, him off the leaked Labour report, Mandelson obviously, Harriet Harman, Margaret Hodge, Mike Katz, Mike Gapes, need I go on? All the great and the good of the Labour right, by which I mean the most fucking appalling human beings to ever live, were out in force trying to defeat Corbyn. And it turns out it's better to have popular support in a race like that than just we'll send Blair down next. I'm surprised they actually didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't.
I mean, Corbyn's majority ended up being quite comfortable. It was roughly 8,000 votes, so it didn't change the result. But I think if they hadn't sent any of the proper Blairite ghouls, just maybe sent a few bland MPs to go and campaign for him or whatever, and a lot of local ones, it would have been maybe a 6,000 majority for Corbyn. I think they made the result worse by just I'm on the fence who to vote for. Oh fuck, there's Peter Mandelson walking down my street. Right, Corbyn it is then, you know?
It's a bit like if the DNC came out and said, okay, Joe Biden is stepping down and we are replacing him as the candidate with Hillary Clinton. Let's go.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. Exactly. The same kind of maybe in the weird insular culture of this political party, that person, Hillary or Harriet Harman or Peter Mandelson is some great hero who's given their life to the progressive movement or social causes or whatever. But yeah, not everyone sees them that way necessarily. There was that clip of Harriet Harman when Corbyn went on TV after he won, and Harriet Harman was she went on the most kind of like conceited, selfish, petulant, fucking egotistical, and probably the most commonly used adjectives about Starmer's supporters and the people around him. Petty and vindictive. It was extremely petty and vindictive. Harriet Harman, she went, I think she was speaking like this, like, Jeremy, I think that it's terrible what you've done. I think it's disgraceful. You really disappointed me, Jeremy. You put yourself above the party, and I would never do that. That she literally said, like, I would never do that. And it's like,
that was such a gross interview moment.
Yeah, you saw that on the Hassan stream, right?
yeah. And just the way the interviewer was, like, saying that stuff, like, doesn't this show how moving towards the centre and being sensible is a good electoral path? And, of course, Corbyn pointed out everything you've already said about the numbers.
But, yeah, Harriet Harman rubbed me wrong the most, because she was just like, well, for a start, like, when she's like, I would never do that, it's like, ooh, well, aren't you special? And it's like, you would never do that, Harriet, because you are nothing without the Labour brand. You are insignificant. If Harriet Harman, who has been in politics long enough that she has more recognition than a lot of politicians, if she ran against, she somehow ended up on the outs with the Labour Party and decided to run against the official Labour Party candidate, do you think that she would win by a majority of 800 votes?
8,000 votes.
Do you think she would rally people in big rallies, getting people coming in from miles around to canvass and pound the doorsteps for her, and then not just be popular with people coming in from miles around, but actually still maintain that popular support with the people of her own community? I don't fucking think so. I think that fucking nobody would vote for Harriet Harman if she didn't have the Labour brand, and that's what fucks with people like her. It's just like, without the Labour Party branding, they are nothing. Fucking nothing. Whereas Jeremy Corbyn has proven that without the party machinery behind him, he is something. He's still something, which we knew when he was leader, because in 2017 he was a considerable asset to the party electorally. This time there was a big poll of why people voted for Labour. You know how many people said the leadership of Kier Starmer? 1%.
Yeah.
1%.
Labour policies was like 5%, and like just get the
I
Tories
remember
out
that
at
as
any
one.
cost was the top one with like 55%. Like it was,
and then like
all the
wanting
other
change
reasons
was like second, which is basically the same thing.
Yeah.
wanting change second on about 6% or something daft, like crazy.
Now we're all at brunch. I mean, I actually think it's quite funny. When Blairites have been trying to do the A New Dawn Has Broken, Has It Not routine, it is kind of like, well, it doesn't seem like a very nice dawn. It's so poetic that it's just been pissing down constantly since Starmer got in. Like, literally every day.
Speak for yourself. It was lovely here today in Glasgow, which remains under non-Labour rule, despite them having all the MPs in Glasgow now.
Yeah, for now. But I think,
did
like...
you catch Starmer's
Never underestimate Scottish Labour's ability to fuck up their popularity in a small amount of time.
No, I did not catch Starmer's victory speech, Jair, because I cannot stand to listen to the for more than 30 seconds. But just to finish my point, it has not been solidly rainy for all of every day down here, but it has certainly been for a considerable portion of every day. And yeah, I just think it's great, it's so poetic, and it just really makes me feel that Starmer is the Prime Minister who God hates the most.
Yeah, and rightly so.
I think that's an ominous portent.
He laid it out quite clearly in the Ten Commandments, and Kier Starmer just refused to follow at least one of them multiple times.
Murder. He killed so many people.
That was Alistair Campbell, you're getting them confused.
Yeah, he's now got the unchecked power of the state behind him, the full might.
The full
but
might
fear
of
not,
Jerry
Jack.
Lineker's podcasting empire.
As Starmer made very, very clear in his stirring victory speech, whether you voted for him or not, he is here to work for you. and make the country better for you. He's going to represent you, especially if you didn't vote for him. That's what he said.
Oh, really?
Especially.
Until 6 p.m. on the dot, at which point he clocks off.
Yeah, lazy cunt. Sundowning
It was the
again.
exact same shit Biden said at his inauguration. Like, don't worry, you people who hate me and don't stand for anything that I supposedly stand for. I'm here for you.
Labour leaders who purge the left stealing from Biden. That's a reversal of fortune, isn't it?
Do you know this idea about Biden in one of his previous failed presidential runs plagiarized an entire speech from Neil Kinnock?
I think it was in like
I didn't hear
1988 or something like. It was a big scandal in America. Like he made a speech the very first time he ran for president when he was a reasonably young politician. Yeah. It got a reasonable amount of praise, and then one journalist twigged that it was almost word for word a copy of like a Neil Kinnock speech from 6 months before.
I thought the
It must have
alarm
been
bell
easier to
should
get away with that before Twitter and such, right?
Yeah,
You wouldn't get away with it now because it was like a very famous Neil Kinnock speech, and it'd be pointed out during the speech. But
I thought it should have sent the alarm bells ringing that he was doing it in that comical fake Welsh accent.
God, yeah, that's not presidential behaviour, is it at all? Yeah.
Never run for the office.
Shouldn't be allowed to like
I
Mike.
don't know.
If you
I think
do that
America
sort of
needs
thing.
its first Welsh president.
Yeah,
Me.
I agree. I thought that's what Gareth Bale was going for when he played out there for like 2 months.
Neither of us are going to get that. Come on, man. Know your audience.
Yeah, he's only one of the most famous footballers in the modern era.
Did you actually get that, yeah?
No.
I appreciate.
I knew his name.
I
but
appreciate
I didn't know.
both of your honesty.
I heard the name, man. All right. Well, so yeah, in our new brunch era, the sun is shining every day. Yeah, I love that. Like where the Blairites are like, "Stop complaining, go out. The sun is shining," and then it's like, you know, you'll look out your window and it's like, well, maybe it was when you sent that an hour ago. But yeah, let's check out our new brunch era cabinet. Starmer's laid out a government of all the talents, all of them.
It's shockingly snubbed Lord Digby Jones.
But there's plenty of lords in there, don't worry.
Oh yeah.
Don't worry. Alright, so I found an updated shadow cabinet from... sorry, not shadow cabinet. I'm going to have to get used to not saying that. An updated cabinet from Labour List. Oh, this is... 1 out of 58. Alright, well, let's just skip through. Alan Campbell.
Have you got a slide,
whip.
Jack? You must be able to find it in a way that isn't a slideshow.
Yeah, I probably can. It'll
Can
be
you
on
not just
Wikipedia.
go on
won't
Wikipedia?
it?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay, so I've got
Right.
one here that seems to be fairly updated, but it's in a shitty format.
Where from?
The Wikipedia entry for Starmer Ministry.
Okay.
It's got a lot of the updates from like the 8th, as in today, on it.
Okay, good. Let's do that.
So we have... Go through the banner ones first, and then any that haven't been. So the actual cabinet ones, and then some of the other appointments. Prime Minister starts off badly, right? Prime Minister and First Lord of the Treasury, fake job, not a real title.
Urgent, breaking news. The RP Corp are calling for the Prime Minister and First Lord of the Treasury, Sir Kier Starmer, to resign.
The Right Honourable Sir Kier Starmer, KCB, KCMP, to resign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit.
Yeah. The Deputy Prime Minister and Secretary of State for Levelling Up Housing and Communities.
Have they not fucking scrapped levelling up? Jesus.
No, they haven't.
What does that mean?
It means fuck all, man.
It means fuck all. It was the Tories'
Is it just like a way of
for,
saying equalising things or something?
It was
It
the
was a
Tories'
Tory
fake
slogan.
term for we're going to invest in the North, and then they didn't invest in the North. Like,
Right,
it was
right.
literally a fake political slogan. It won us some votes in the short term, and Labour being Labour.
Their version of Trump's
that's
Infrastructure Week.
Labour, like, that's a nice phrase. We'll pretend we're going to invest in those areas as well and keep the same term for it and everything, so people will be even more angry at us for Tory problems.
And then Kier wanted to demote Angela Rayner from some of her many jobs that actually had some kind of purpose, so he ended up giving it to her.
Yeah. So, Angela Rayner is that and a deputy. Chancellor of the Exchequer and Second Lord of the Treasury, fake job, is Rachel Reeves, of course. David Lammy,
As I said,
shockingly kept
Neoliberalism
his job
ending.
sensationally after all of us got our hopes up after briefings that he was going to get demoted. So
But
he is
you
Foreign
don't.
Secretary.
You don't have that many colleagues briefing about you unless someone is out to get you. There is a target on his back, and it's only a matter of time. I would suggest people look at the junior ministers serving under Lammy to get some idea of who might be the replacement. But I have to say, I understand all the rumours about how he's going to sack Ed Miliband, because Ed Miliband thinks like you should spend more than £1 a year on like public investment. But I don't really understand for Lammy. But I mean, I think I kind of do.
What they'll do with Ed Miliband.
But like with Lammy, it's not like he's kind of soft left. He literally believes in nothing. Like if Starmer wants his politics to be something, he can be that. No problem. And I basically just strongly suspect that certain people in Starmer's inner circle don't think that a black guy should be representing the UK on the world stage as Foreign Secretary.
Mm-hmm. And probably the incoming President of the United States would also believe that, so that could get spicy. David Lammy, of course, is also on record as saying, when Trump visits the UK, I'll boycott it. I'll chain myself outside my office to stop him coming in. Like, no, you won't. You'll shake his hand and say what a great statesman he is, like every other worm.
That would be some funny resistance shit, though.
Yeah. So what they're going to do...
Should we save that for when we get to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Who next then?
Home Secretary, fucking Yvette Cooper. So the long Labour run of Hitler particle Home Secretaries continues. Yeah. Obviously,
exactly.
We've also had an unbeaten run of Hitler particle Conservative Home Secretaries between the Labour governments. So it's just a solid 27 years of just every single person that's had that position being deeply, irreversibly evil.
Yeah, all the Hitler particles forming together into some kind of homunculus.
Yes.
Yeah. Yvette Cooper, we got fake news that she was going to lose her seat to Reform. Yeah. We're not going to do a bit on Reform seats. We're glad they won.
There'll be plenty next time.
Yep, I was waiting by a computer for my revenge all these years later, but it did not come. She is, in fact, one of the most powerful people in the country. Moving on. Bald bastard.
Knows where you live as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Moving on. Bald bastard number 1. Secretary of State for Defence, John Healey, currently having bombs lobbed at him in Ukraine, apparently.
Yeah, I think that was very much staged. I saw Harry Cole's sycophantic thing. Yeah. Like, John Healey was not scared, he did not break a sweat or whatever. It's just like, it is so funny that the single most Tory journalist in the country, the guy whose fiancé left him for Boris Johnson, he's that embedded in the Tory side of things. It's so fucking funny that he's now like a media outrider for the Labour leadership. But you saw him fucking grinning arse to arse, like sitting next to Starmer on that fucking The Sun election shows, and he was so happy. Starmer was just like fucking honking away with the usual right-wing shit. Harry Cole just knew, like, yep, conservatism is winning no matter what. And then, of course, The Sun did endorse the Labour Party. So, yeah, currently
they did it late and half-assed, which is their way of saying they want to keep the streak going, of saying we've endorsed every election winner for 40 years. In some cases, they've shifted the boundaries on that. In some cases, they've just gone along with the winner to stop it being humiliating for them.
Well, no ministerial role for Harry Cole yet, or communications role or what have you, but yes, he is currently blowing smoke up the arse of John Healey in quite a different way to the brave boys of the Russian army are attempting to.
There is no cuck chair in the cabinet room at 10 Downing Street. There's a photo on Wikipedia, there's no room in there, so Harry Cole will not have access.
But there is a chance for Kier Starmer to do the funniest extramarital affair of all time.
I would briefly, and in that specific context, deeply respect Kier Starmer if he did that.
Oh, there's a couple of things I respect him for in this reshuffle that we can get to. I love I love doing our reshuffle episodes. It's just like enemies list time, you know what I mean?
We're the Richard Nixons of the left.
A big time, the left, the new Nixonism of the left. And next up we've got another, before the next hideous bald freak, we got Shabana Mahmood, Secretary of State for Justice, Lord Chancellor. I saw...
Secretary of State for Justice and Lord Chancellor. That's two jobs. That's a real job and a fake job.
How am I
Seems
supposed
to
to
be the
know
format
that?
they're using.
Gibberish, nonsense, crap.
She is a crap centrist turf. Yeah, move on.
Well, before we move on, I just thought it was really funny to see Mike Katz and Lee Harpin and co defending her for attending a Palestine rally the other day, which is like, that is how it works. Like, if you are on the right wing of the Labour Party, the ultra-Zionists will defend you, not totally alienating your constituents by doing half-hearted sporadic support for Palestine. They know you're bullshitting them. These guys are Starmerites. Like, they know that sometimes in politics you got to tell a little lie. Hell, they do it themselves quite a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we next go on to the weird little homunculus guy that you mentioned earlier. The Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, the fakest job of all. The Right Honourable Pat McFadden MP.
Yeah, I mean, so my dad was looking at a picture of Pat McFadden. He was like, oh, he looks like a real political operator. I was like, Dad, he's a monster. Like, literally.
He looks like a worm. He looks like turning a worm off fucking Channel 4 teletext back in the day.
Terrifying bald visage on this man. Hideous.
He looks like Nigel Farage in a hospice.
And Starmer actually, if you know the Beatles lyric in Ringo's first song he ever wrote, "Don't Pass Me By," you were in a car crash and you lost your hair. It's about Farage. It's like you were in a plane crash and you lost your hair. Yeah, total freak, ultra neoliberal and ultra neoconservative. The worst of both worlds.
One of the most evil people in the Labour Party, but he has no charisma, so they just have him kind of working in the background, like a fucking Grimmer Wormtongue type guy.
That's the thing, like, he's mostly a behind-the-scenes fixer for Starmer, but they do occasionally send him out into the media, where everyone's like, whoa, that guy's head is fucked. Alright, next up, big cunt.
We almost got him. Wes Streeting.
Nearly lost his seat by 500 votes, but unfortunately the racist left just wanted to racistly campaign for Jeremy Corbyn, according to some anarchist dipshit expressing opinions on electoral politics, who says they have no involvement in electoral politics. So, I'm definitely taking your opinion seriously, especially because you literally described yourself as racist a couple of tweets down. Well, I'm not afraid to say it, folks. I'm not a racist, and I'm glad that Wes Streeting almost lost by 500 votes.
Yeah,
but also
in some respects, I think the most impressive campaign of the general election was almost unseating Wes Streeting.
Leanne Mohammed. We should actually.
Leanne Mohammed.
Let's get a national recognition.
She's only about 24 years old, isn't she?
23, I heard. Yeah.
Okay, young enough that it's kind of frightening that she managed to get a campaign like that together so quickly and come so close to winning.
I'd rather have her in Parliament than the youngest Labour MP. Fuck me.
On a number of grounds,
Mainly head-based,
on
but
political
not
grounds, on conduct grounds, and on phrenology grounds. All the big three.
Absolutely, and as I say, the phrenological grounds easily highest up the list for me. But Wes, what do we need to say about Wes? We've been studying his movements for years. He is a privatisation zealot. He's got a really annoying voice and a worse face. He looks more like an actual member of the Third Reich than anybody currently in British politics.
He is a sinister character straight from stock casting, and we're all supposed to pretend he isn't, and no one's having it. He is still in the exact mode of the weirdest student politician you'll ever meet.
Exactly. And Starmer's given him the keys to the NHS, which should tell you a lot, especially when you get into some of the junior ministerial appointments under him. Next up, Lucy... Sorry, I saw the name Lucy Powell and I just started falling asleep because she is one of the biggest no-marks in Parliament. Nothing to say about her whatsoever. One of the most generic Labour MPs.
Yeah.
Leader of the House of Commons and Lord
She's the one.
President
She's the
of
one with
Council.
the absolutely sinister internet policies she keeps proposing, isn't she? But I don't think it's the usual New Labour just wants to crack down on everyone, wants a police state, so much as she just doesn't understand like how the internet works and how anyone uses it, or like what a VPN is, or like really basic concepts, but wants to outlaw all these things anyway.
Yep.
Yeah,
Next
so fuck her
up-
anyway. Deeply
fuck
stupid
her.
and deeply evil. Yeah.
Next up, you have somebody who, as far as I can see, well, she'll be needed more than ever because she's the leader of the House of Lords, and Labour are fucking putting a lot of people into the House of Lords at the moment.
But she's not just that, she's also the Lord Keeper of the Privy Seal, which, again,
Gibberish,
not only,
nonsense.
not only a
Super
fake
important.
job, but, like, a privy is a toilet. Like, so she's the keeper of, like, the toilet door, the toilet lock. That's not a job.
It's a obscure British constitutional convention that the Prime Minister is not allowed to lock the door when they go to the loo, so she has to guard the toilet door whenever Kier goes for a shit. Anyway,
Stop all the journalists, like, go and have a look.
speaking of shit, this person is actually only the second shittest
Yeah.
British politician called Angela Smith.
Angela
She
Smith's
is-
in the cabinet. Oh, fuck. Oh,
Yeah.
it's only really bad instead of, like, catastrophically bad.
No, she's awful, irredeemable person. She was. The
Can you
leader of
imagine
the-
if they put the other Angela Smith in charge of, it gave her a route into the sewage system via the toilet door? Like
Any day now, I think we should return to why the fuck our brave cuck boys and girls have not been put into the House of Lords, because that's a fucking travesty.
The
Speller,
country
but no
demands
Gapes.
Lord Gapes.
Yeah, what the fuck? Anyway, look at this. Right Honourable Angela Smith, Baroness Smith of Basildon, PC. PC. So, that can mean one of two things. Fucking cop or the woke mob have truly got their tentacles into
We're
government.
fully against political correctness here on the Real Politik podcast. There was a weird little Weasley guy from the Times who said so in print, so it's definitely true.
Well, what we've seen today is that they are giving most of the government ministers on the official government website gender-neutral pronouns in their bios, which I don't actually. I'm not actually sure why, but yeah. Anyway, the woke have taken over.
No, they haven't given them gender-neutral pronouns. They've literally just written it once as like they've been an MP since 2015 or whenever. It's something that's probably been on the website for a long.
Oh right, yeah. It's
as long as there's been a website,
template.
but people are so mad about pronouns that they think
It's
the
woke.
words they and them should be outlawed for any purpose.
Yeah.
Like, not just people replacing all instances of like he and him with they and them, but like you can't
Right.
like if I was talking about this episode afterwards and was like, yeah, they were both really good on that episode. Like, no, you can't use that. You must
A likely
use, he was
story.
really good and he was also really good. Like, come on now.
a likely story
They
that that
literally want to
conversation would
destroy
happen.
the English language to further inconvenience trans people.
Well, anyway, next up we've got Ed Miliband. What were you going to say about him earlier,
Right.
Ryan?
Oh no, you've built it up too much now. But I was just going to say, what's going to happen here? Like again, he's another one where you could have imagined them ditching him because he's the least right wing big hitter in the cabinet.
That's
Not
wild.
saying much. Not saying much, but what I think they're going to do is they're going to have, at some point in the first couple of years, they're going to basically ditch all their green targets and do several not very green flagship policies in the party as a whole, and Ed Miliband will take all the flack for that as like really ineffective energy secretary, net zero secretary who's seen it all go to dust, and they'll be like, right, yeah, the public have no trust in him. We're sacking you and we're replacing you with Pat McFadden or some dickhead. And then they'll give him just a couple of small policies that will get him like a little bit closer to net zero 1 year and 2 year. Still way worse than they would have been if they hadn't fucked it up the year before. But then they'll be like, look, see, only the right wing can take the tough decisions that help us get closer to avoiding the crisis. Meanwhile, we'll be very close to the actual crisis. Like, we'll be almost a point of no return at that point.
I fucking hate Ed Miliband. I think he is a pathetic worm of a man. Whenever
He's got no self-respect at all.
No,
That
not
much
at all.
Is obvious now.
Worse
if he was in
than
any other
John
line of
McDonnell.
work, I would feel very sorry for him, but he isn't, so I don't.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people feel sorry for him, and I think we've got to train us that out of ourselves, because he has thrown his lot in with the right. He went out on TV to smear Corbyn as anti-Semitic.
Remember that he refused to serve in Corbyn's cabinets.
And he's been in there
pretty
loyally.
fucking right-wing in 2015.
Yeah, you didn't vote for his party, did you? I did, but unhappily. So much for my trot credentials. But he's utterly worthless. And when Labour passed the motion at NEC barring Corbyn from being a candidate, Starmer looked around his shadow cabinet and he needed a Jewish person, and he said, Ed Miliband, will you go out and slag Corbyn off as being either anti-Semitic or somehow linked to anti-Semitism, even though the motion we just passed at NEC does not mention anti-Semitism once. It just says that he's an electoral drag on the party, which again, ha ha ha, right? But, that was just utterly, it showed him as a man devoid of principles, utterly worthless, and it made me think that when Starmer's people were calling up Lammy, and they were calling up Thornbury and Nandy, and they were saying, we need you to go out on TV and defend Kier's remarks, saying that Israel had the right to withhold food, water and electricity from the Palestinian civilian population. Mm-hmm. I think Ed Miliband was also sitting by his phone and shitting himself, and if they had given him that call, he would have had no choice but to go out and do that, and he would have absolutely done so. I'm sure he wouldn't have been very happy about doing something so evil, and he probably felt a little bit bad about doing the evil thing that he did to Jeremy Corbyn as well. But, the guy backed Owen Smith in 2016. He has consistently showed what side of the party he is on. And I think this sentimental attachment that certain people on the left, I'm talking about Owen Jones, but also my mum. Like when
the main pillars of left-wing thought in Britain there.
Well, I told my mum, I was like, look, Ed Miliband he's useless. He was a terrible leader. He didn't support Corbyn, and now he is slavishly supportive of Starmer. And my mum just kind of goes, aww.
His whole political career has been caving to people on his right, to the point where he's almost indistinguishable from those people. And on a human level, he's a bit of a coward, that's a shame. I hope he summons up some courage. But until he actually does, don't praise him for it.
Yeah, he's like an establishment Labour politician in his fucking 50s or whatever. He's not this, cute little, innocent, this fucking fawn. It's like,
he chose to be there. He chose to do what he did. Yeah.
Yeah. He served under Blair, fuck him, man. He didn't vote for the Iraq War because he wasn't in Parliament at the time. He was, on an exchange trip to America. So he's got that on his record, that he didn't vote for Iraq. But it's like, well, what? Seriously, just like the thing with Israel, what do you think he would have done had he not mercifully dodged that opportunity? Anyway, let's move on. Ed Miliband can fuck off. I don't see him as part of the left. Let's move on to Steve Reed, who I don't have much to say about.
Yeah,
no relation.
Yeah. Boring. Yeah.
Got an OBE, apparently. Great.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Love me, the British Empire.
Yeah, I mean, he is also an anti-Semite, so there is that.
Yeah, what was the anti-Semitic thing he said?
You'll be interested. He labelled Richard Desmond, who is a tosser, the press baron, a puppet master. He apologised and deleted the tweet. Apparently, there's no citation for this on Wikipedia after he found out Desmond was Jewish. He defended himself by speaking, not explicitly, but he just happened to come out
speaking
and
truth to power.
Talk extensively afterwards about his long-standing commitment to Labour Friends of Israel.
Yeah,
oh, great.
That was
cool.
shameless. Yeah. And Starmer let him back in overnight, basically. Unlike
I'm not anti-Semitic. I despise the Palestinian people.
Unlike Andy MacDonald, who was just Andy MacDonald said, "From the river to the sea, all Palestinians and Israelis will be free," and they kicked him out of the party for half a year or something. He's back now because he apologised. He was like, "No, sorry, only Israelis should be free." Just like they kicked Kate Osmore out for listing the genocide of Palestinians as a genocide on International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and she basically said, sorry, it's not a genocide, or if it is, I'm sure it's justified. So she got let back into the party.
Yeah, not a real job, but a Secretary of State for big dinners, Secretary of State for food. Fuck off, come on.
Yeah, fuck off, Steve. Right.
Secretary of State for Business and Trade and President of the Board of Trade. They've all got like a real job and a fake job that's vaguely linked to it. Like
another big baldy bonce here, another fucking... And no matter how much he's deluding himself.
Stupid beard, looks like the fucking... those toys where you've got the iron filings and a magnet to move them round on a baldy face. just a silly head on him.
Yeah.
Not having it. And crap
Jonathan
politics,
Reynolds.
crap person, weird tetchy arsehole on Twitter. Presume he's been drinking. Bloke, fuck him.
Yeah, cunt.
Yeah.
Next up,
Next up's genuinely terrifying. Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, Liz Kendall.
who here be claiming benefits?
People are going to die
for sure.
as a result of this appointment.
Yeah. This is evil. This is fucking evil. She got 4.5% of the vote in the Labour leadership contest of 2015, precisely because of her opinions on the kind of shit that Starmer has now put her in charge of. That is the extent to which an undemocratic right-wing coup has happened through a series of shady fixes and backroom deals in the Labour Party.
Yeah, there is no public appetite for her policies. There's probably not, even now, after all the left fucking off, like any
definitely
real...
not.
Like, she'd probably get like 10% in the leadership contest today. There's not actually any significant groundswell of support for her views in the membership.
Imagine if they ran her as their candidate in Islington North against Corbyn. That'd be a drubbing I'd like to see.
Why would they do that, though, when she already has a seat?
I know. It was an instructive example. Liz Kendall is Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, so she will be shortly depriving me of all my personal income.
Back to work, Jack. Back to work. It's like,
you lazy bastard.
For too long. Editing a podcast, officially not a job, according to Liz Kendall. Not my words.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic.
My words were hers. So,
if
if
it's not a job, then hopefully that I'd get money still.
Next one,
claim unemployment benefits.
No, but it is a job and it isn't a job. No.
The next one, they have given two real jobs in a way that makes you think they don't think the second one's a real job. So Secretary of State for Education and Minister for Women and Equalities is Bridget Phillipson, the weird pod person.
Ultra
progress Blairite woman.
Artificial intelligence is very sophisticated these days. There is no reason that it could not master multiple briefs at any given time. I say give her a third job. Next up, you've got Jada Franson from Britain First.
I was going to make literally the exact same joke, but no, we both saw the picture before we read the name. It's police cheerleader Louise High.
Yeah, and this is really funny. Is that how you say her name?
I have got no idea.
I thought it was Haig, but maybe you're right.
It's not Haig.
Okay.
Surely it's not Haig. I don't care to find out. Like I on principle, I'm never going to find out. I'm going to pronounce it a different way on every episode she becomes relevant on in the future, which will probably be about 2 episodes. She'll accidentally say something only normal centrist and get sacked.
What about her? Yeah.
I think it is Haig from the pronunciation guide.
Oh, okay. But as ever, I am fucking vindicated.
Yeah,
anyway,
she is related not by birth but by political views to William Hague, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Secretary of State for Transport. So hopefully police cars come within that remit, or she'd be really bored.
Yeah.
Hate her. Basically, the thing that we're talking about her hair, because she always has very brightly coloured rockabilly style haircuts, but this time she has let her hair down and dyed it a very deep shade of red in what I would describe as a more conservative look, less alternative, shall we say, more befitting of a government minister in, shall we say, a very, very conservative government. Or a Britain First opposition. Lisa Nandy next.
Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport. That's going to be fun. She's got no clue about any of those things and no enthusiasm for any of those things.
Oh yeah, such a soulless person. Fucking
Some people in towns do famously like sport and even to a limited extent culture as well. So maybe she'll find something to get her teeth into. She'll be like, none of this woke theatre that they have now.
Well, anyway, we should get through this so we can do our reading series, and we've also got all the junior ministerial roles, some of whom are very interesting.
Yeah, maybe just skip to the interesting ones on those.
Yeah. Don't need to go through every mark.
Yeah. Secretary of State for Northern Ireland is civilian bombing enthusiast Hilary Benn. That's an interesting one. That's not going to end well. He looks like a fucking 19th century American president in his official portrait there. Like he doesn't look like from this time.
He's got like a little turtle smile, hasn't he?
I don't think he's any older than many of his colleagues of the same generation, but he just kind of looks not physically older. He's not like a Joe Biden situation, but he just looks like out of time.
It's a particularly fusty kind of
look. He looks
look.
like you'd expect his dad to look if you just said like when he was born.
Yeah.
Like what era he was active in and stuff.
It kind of reminds me of David Quantick when I see him
What
with
the
his.
fuck?
No, just bear with me. When I see David Quantick with his kind of scrunched up little bespectacled face, it's not that there's any. I'm bespectacled myself, but it's the particular type. It's maybe he has very like thin frames, and I see David Quantick and I just think, yeah, that guy is a fusty old cunt, and I know all his opinions in advance of when he's going to say them. Moving on, Ian Murray from Scotland.
So Labour now have lots of Scottish MPs instead of just the one, or just two for the months leading up to the. It's a stain on my adopted country.
Your boys let the whole team down.
But Labour are still like, oh no, Ian Murray gets the job on merit. Like, they don't have to pretend he's the best they've got now. They haven't got much talent, but like Ian Murray, he is a human potato who holds the most English seat in Scotland, the fucking posh bit of Edinburgh, by tooling around in like a Union Jack suit, like some fucking Orange Brigade Tory.
Also, nearly
ridiculous.
defected to Change UK, but pussied out at the last
He was
minute.
at the dress rehearsal for Change UK's big launch like the night before. Photographed at it and just bottled it. And now he's a front bench minister. Yeah.
Still, and Douglas Alexander and the other giants of Scottish Labour are all still relegated to junior ministerial roles.
I'm kind of staggered they didn't give it to Douglas Alexander. I know he's literally been back in Parliament 5 minutes, but he's been there before, and it doesn't have the thing going for the same old faces is that they don't quite know which ones of the young lot will cope well under media pressure.
What's next? Ooh, hello! Next up, we have the Secretary of State for Wales. This is a tweet that Joe Stevens did earlier.
Let the record state that we got just a few seconds short of 1 hour 12 minutes into the recording before the first vile bit of anti-Welsh racism. That's a new record. You have to give Jack credit for that.
Well, hold my drink, because here's a tweet from Joe Stevens, the new Secretary of State for Wales. I was born in Wales, brought up in Wales, and worked in Wales. In this job, I'll deliver for Wales. Welsh flag. It's just Wales, 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 Wales. Like, change the fucking record already. Jesus Christ.
Robert Page would do a better job. Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology. Now, when I think of innovation, I think of this man. This is a bold, innovative thinker, bursting with ideas, fizzing with enthusiasm for the bold and the new. Peter Kyle, former employer of Lukey Stanger.
Oh, God. Yeah, a Brighton MP, isn't he? Wish the Greens have got him.
Yeah, a massive right-wing wanker. Yeah, just an absolute shithead. A total cunt. He's had every bad position you can expect a Labour Party politician to have. But again, he's not very charismatic, so they sort of keep him in the background.
Exactly. All right, we're now on also
attending cabinet. So like these are the ones that are admitting of fake jobs, by the way.
Oh, we got a couple of juicy ones here. The first two are not particularly juicy. Parliamentary Secretary to the Treasury and Chief Whip of the House of Commons. Chief Whip's a pretty important job. Yeah. Like, why does he need two?
Yeah, but they never give it to high-profile people.
Well, this is Alan Campbell anyway. Mm-hmm. He's been Starmer's Chief Whip for ages. I'm sure a terrible cunt. I don't know much about him.
You kind of have to be Chief Whip, I think.
Yeah.
Most of the time to be a web full stop.
Next up, Darren Jones, Blairite nerd, elected as part of the Jeremy Corbyn surge in 2015.
He's the Rachel Reeves. He's the Rachel Reeves backup plan if
she
if
moves
Rachel
to the
Reeves,
left. She ends neoliberalism.
If Reeves becomes too hated by the public, which obviously is a going concern at any point from a few months into the government.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Rachel Reeves was the backup plan of someone we're going to get to in a minute. Yeah, then we've got Darren Jones. Yeah, oh, sorry, we already
Surely
said
they're
him,
not
but
giving Chris Leslie a junior minister's job.
Darren Jones was elected in 2017 as part of the Corbyn surge, and in his very first interview as a Labour MP came out and was like, yeah, my political hero is Tony Blair. I think he was brilliant in every way. That's the gratefulness, the Rosie Duffield-style gratefulness to Jeremy Corbyn that so many MPs from a 2017 intake have. Okay, now it gets interesting. Next up, you've got... citation needed, I'm sure some might say. Next up, you've got Richard Hermer, KC. Now, first of all, it is absolutely mental that the lawyer that Starmer goes outside of Parliament, both chambers of Parliament, to pick as his shadow attorney general has a name so similar to Starmer. Like, it's just, how does that happen?
You got to have a system. They got Starmer. That's how I remember it.
This guy will be, as attorney general, giving Starmer a lot of advice on international law to do with Israel and Palestine. But Hermer, otherwise, I mean, he seems like a pretty run-of-the-mill kind of liberal Zionist.
The interesting thing about this one, of course, is who hasn't got that particular job.
Exactly. This is the delicious bit. This is the fucking classic moment. This was like the closest that I've come to feeling like I did when Jeremy Corbyn won on Thursday since Thursday. When it was announced that Corbyn's former friend, now bitter enemy, at least on her side, I'm sure he would still be very nice about her, such is his way, Emily Thornberry has not been given a position in the cabinet. Yep. And apparently this was unexpected, as she said in her statement about it. This was a big surprise to her.
She's clearly raging, but trying to be professional about it as well on her statement as well. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but her statement was too raging because she has not been found another role, unlike the other person who put out an utterly obsequious statement after they weren't given one.
She'd held that brief, obviously, for pretty much the entire Starmer era in opposition. So there's basically two explanations for this, I think. The first that's been suggested on social media, I think, by you.
By me. This is my theory.
Was that a tweet from a short while ago by Owen Jones saying, do we know that it was Emily Thornberry who was doing that anonymous briefing that Kier Starmer was boring? Because it definitely was. So there's speculation that he punished her for that. If so,
he tweeted that during the general election, and I think
right at the start of the general election, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think that Starmer held off on firing her for disloyalty in order to present a united front during the election.
Yeah, I think it's really stupid on Starmer's, really funny, but really stupid on Starmer's part, because if you're a deeply evil politician like he is, being boring is probably the best line of criticism you want to have focused on you. Like, John Major got called mostly boring during his time, and that's part of why it was so easy for Liberals to rehabilitate him afterwards. If you're endorsing war crimes and people call you like just a sort of boring, competent suit, like you jump at that.
I don't think it was so much the substance of what she said about Starmer as simply the disloyalty of briefing the media against him. That's not permitted in the current Labour Party.
You can brief against his enemies and on his behalf, but you can't brief against him. Yeah, that's the rules.
Exactly. What's the other theory, though?
The other theory was just that they gave her the job by default because she's like, oh, I'm an ex-lawyer, and it can't be me that has the role because I'm the leader of the party now. And then as soon as he actually gets in power and they need to do stuff in government, he's like, right, I'm going to get a better lawyer. I think.
Well, exactly,
I think she's not a lawyer of the same standing
she said herself.
As this guy. Yeah,
she said I could never hope to be as accomplished a lawyer as Hermer. But
that obviously doesn't rule people out getting that job, because I mean Suella Braverman had it at one point. But I think our friend A-Up Lovely had the best take on it, was simply, no job for Emily Thornberry, about 10 grinning emojis, very, very evil and drunk racist lady, job centre in the morning, another 10 grinning emojis, glug glug, couple of bottles of wine, cry laugh emoji, at Emily Thornberry, which got him blocked because she just fears debate, unfortunately. It's just too common in today's politicians. They don't want to take the field in the marketplace of ideas.
But she has utterly debased and prostrated herself before the Labour right in the Starmer era, and in fact before the Starmer era when she was running for leader. She then, of course, went out and she endorsed war crimes on behalf of Starmer.
With the exact phrasing he did, which is when you know it's like specifically to defend him.
And then following that, possibly even more egregiously, she was seen on the campaign trail campaigning for Prafal Nargund in Islington North against Jeremy Corbyn, who, if I was to pick up a piece of shit book by Telegraph Tory hack Rosa Prince off my shelf there, I could skip to a random page and find, as well as David Lammy, in fact, I could find Emily Thornberry saying stuff like, I love Jeremy. Jeremy's always been there for me. He's one of my closest friends in politics. And I think it's just disgusting that somebody could say stuff like that and then campaign against him, knowing that it was completely illegitimate, the mechanism by which he was not a Labour candidate.
An obvious mark of her character. She's either lying habitually about people being her friends, which is just shady behaviour, or she treats her friends like that, which is even worse.
Fucking detestable piece of shit. Glug, 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 exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glugging in celebration of her fucking ousting, her unceremonious ousting by the hated Starmer regime.
So we got Annalise Dodds demoted to Minister of State for Development.
She initially was not given
Every reshuffle, she moves a rung lower, a couple of boxes lower on Wikipedia. It's hilarious. It's the best running bit ever. She's going to end like Starmer's regime, whether that's in a year or 10 years, as the sort of junior minister of the least important department to his government. She'll still be like going on and dutifully doing her duty and giving all the party lines and trying her best. And
well, this is why she has been given a role, which is that her statement, unlike Thornberry's slightly pissy one, was utterly humiliating, craven. It was like Ellie
These
Reeves.
Are the qualities we want.
They gave her fucking job to Rachel Reeves's fail sister, who's going to be a surprisingly left-wing choice for the role, but nah, just kidding. They gave Dodds' job to Rachel Reeves's fail sister, and she put out this statement like, Ellie Reeves will be a fantastic, whatever the fuck she was before, who cares. Anyway, that's Dodds. Lest we forget, Annalise Dodds was Kier Starmer's shadow chancellor for 2 years. And I actually genuinely had forgotten when someone mentioned that to me the other day. In my head, it has always been Rachel Reeves, which I strongly feel is probably how it is in Starmer and Reeves' heads as well.
Briefly from that, we should come back to an earlier one, because Reeves, of course, was initially the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, which was used to basically be her sort of roam in constantly on the TV, undermining whichever other frontbencher was being the most left-wing. It was usually Rebecca Long-Bailey. And then immediately, as soon as they'd ousted Long-Bailey, pivoted entirely to undermining Annalise Dodds. And if you just watch TV, you would think Dodds was like the backup hype man to Rachel Reeves. It's very interesting that position that they used Rachel Reeves to do that from, the sort of armchair quarterback position, they've given to Pat McFadden. So any of these sad little soft left dickheads who crave humiliation, one of them's going to get replaced by him in a few months. It's going to be hilarious.
So Ellie Reeves replaces Annalise Dodds in the prestigious job of Minister without portfolio.
Just with regards to like people who lost their seats as well, the role that Nandy's got that we covered, the Culture, Media and Sport one, was what Thangam Debonair had in opposition and would have at least potentially been in consideration for, but she has nothing but humiliation. Jonathan Ashworth, there's no direct equivalent to him. He was Shadow Paymaster General, so there's no direct equivalent to him. But Nick Thomas Simmons, another soft left fail son, who was given
heavyweight.
Who was given very important positions to start with and has been moving downward and downward and downward and just eating shit about it at every stage. He was a minister without portfolio, and he's now the Shadow Paymaster General without attending cabinet, which is functionally identical to Ellie Reeves being his minister without portfolio role outside cabinet. Like, these people aren't important, but we're still going to fuck people over for them.
Before we go through all the junior ministers, not all of them.
We're not going through all of them.
Appointed
We're just
yet.
going through the funny ones. It'll be a week or two before a lot of the minor ones will just be appointed in one big press release in like a week's time.
Yeah, so no big news so far in here. Oh, right. So, first one in Departments of State, Minister of State. Guess Doesn't say for anything in particular. The Right Honourable Douglas Alexander MP.
Great.
Close advisor of Ed Miliband, lost his seat in the Scottish Labour wipeout of 2015. Rumoured to be taking Lammy's job, but we'll see about that. Give it time.
He'll take someone's job at some point. They really rate him, but no one in the general public ever have.
Then in defence, serving under John Healey, you got Maria Eagle, who is Angela Eagle's failed sister. Did she, leave Parliament or lose her seat for a bit? I can't remember. No, I think she's just been solidly in Parliament the whole time, just doing nothing. Then you've got the fucking ludicrously named Vernon Coker. Now the Lord Coker. Not just Lord.
Lord Coker sounds like
Lord.
a fucking Japanese RPG villain.
He is the Lord Coker. He is literally God. That's his official role in the Labour Party. And he's
see if they'd done the same with Gapes and doing the Lord Gapes, we'd all be applauding it.
They better do that. Gates is the man who could replace God one day. Minister for State for Defence. Some say he already has. Yeah, he has in my eyes. Minister of State for Defence is an ideal position, you might say, for Lord Coker because he is a massive neoconservative. Loves war. Chris Bryant.
Yeah, Chris Bryant in media, tourism and the creative industries, basically reporting to Nandi.
I'm hoping he reignites his beef with James Blunt from a few years ago. Two terrible cunts beefing with each other. It would be great.
It was the last time that Chris Bryant was remotely in the right about anything.
That's so funny, James Blunt. It's reverse classism.
Yeah.
You say people in private school are too overrepresented in the industries. And now everyone's like, haha, James Blunt is great. He makes jokes about how his own music is shit. I'm like, hear me out. Maybe he should have never picked up a fucking guitar then. You know what? You know, when I make music...
said that...
Do I make it because I think it's shit? No, I like it. I think it's good.
If he packed in the music, he would potentially have stayed in the armed forces and would therefore have done more war crimes. And I classify his music as a minor war crime, to be fair.
Maybe someone literally dodged a bullet there then.
Education's a good one, because the Minister of State, again under Bridget Phillipson, is the Right Honourable Jackie Smith, Minister for ordering something a bit mucky off Sky Box Office and trying to bill us all for it.
Yeah, do you know about this idea? Jackie Smith, when she was a New Labour minister, she claimed...
Home Secretary, no less.
Home Secretary, she claimed porn to her parliamentary expenses.
No, I didn't know that.
If you tweet about it, not so much this week because people are remembering all the shit she did as a minister, but in the intervening years, if you tweeted about it, you'd get loads of well-meaning, polite liberal types being like, oh, come on, that's not fair. She was covering up for either her husband or her son. They never really get the story straight. Like, oh, one of them had a porn issue and then she wanted to protect them. Like, yes, but she billed it to the state. She claimed it as expenses. That no one's saying she's a terrible person for watching pornography. They're saying she's a terrible person for getting people to subsidise her pornography usage.
She's been airlifted into the House of Lords anyway, but prior to that, she was much more of a sort of entertainer than a politician. If anything, she was one of us. She was a podcaster. She was
one of our peers, yeah.
She presented the For the Many podcast with Ian Dale. And it's a good podcast when they've chosen the name specifically to piss off Corbyn supporters.
Yeah, which would have worked if they had any listeners, because it didn't really succeed, did it, as a podcast?
Never listened to that shit.
What's the connection between that name and Corbyn?
For the Many, not the few, was Labour's slogan in 2017.
Yeah.
So they're like, for the many, but not Corbyn supporters, because there's not many of them. Like, despite all evidence. Anyway,
okay.
Ian Dale's a Tory and she's a Blairite.
Unless it really picked up in the last couple of years, I think their podcast was just like bare minimum popularity to keep it going, really, because you'd click on the tweets about the new episodes and that, and the only person you'd ever see interacting with them was Emma Burnell, who has about 10 failed podcasts of her own and is just also a very evil and stupid person.
Well, anyway, podcasters in government, it's our time, boys. Catherine McKinnon
Lordship
next
is right around
shit.
the corner.
Who cares about Catherine? Didn't McDonnell endorse her at some point, even though she's shit?
Probably. Many such cases,
A lot of no names here.
Yeah.
Keep going through. Stephen Doty, didn't he? Wasn't there a funny thing involving Stephen Doty in some? Never mind, I can't think of it.
Probably. Let me have a quick look. Oh no, he just resigned when everyone else resigned to try and undermine Corbyn. He was the one out of all the Corbyn resignations that specifically arranged with Laura Kuenssberg to like make his announcement live on the BBC.
Of course. I just know that Karen Smith's son is a soft left Twitter person, so that's the only notable thing about her. Diana Johnson. Now, Diana Johnson is a shit right-wing MP who was endorsed by John McDonnell against her own constituents. The strategic genius, the greatest leader Labour never had. Then Heidi Alexander, who actually quit Parliament for a bit because she was so disheartened with politics under Corbyn, back in as soon as Labour got shit again. And
we've also got James Timpson in that department as well as Minister of State for key cutting, trophies, and for shoe repair as well. He's in charge of all those things in Parliament. He is a businessman from outside politics who runs the company Timpsons, who do all those things I've just mentioned. He's basically known for like being very pro prisoner rehabilitation. He employs ex-cons and stuff, and seems, I suppose, a nicer man than most successful British businessmen. But
he's got
at the same time, maybe he was
rep.
doing it the whole time to get that nice political appointment. I don't know. People are raving about, like, all the Libs are absolutely raving about this appointment, but he's not done literally anything yet. So let's see, because just assuming that a guy who's a good businessman is going to be good at politics is literally the Digby Jones fallacy.
Then we've got Matthew Pennycook. Not Pennycock, apparently.
No, it's Matthew Pennycock. He's got a silly long face and a silly name, and
Pennycock.
He needs to level up a bit more before he can compete on this level, and it's just, sad. We got Sir Patrick Vallance. You can't skip him.
I don't know who that is. He's one of the non-political appointments, isn't he?
Yeah, he was one of the chief medical advisors during like the COVID era.
Oh,
he was the government's chief scientific advisor. So someone on Twitter, some like absolute nutcase, it has to be said, was like, "Oh, he's the minister for injecting cancer into children's arms." So I left a community note on it saying, "No, actually, Wes Streeting's got the health brief. This is factually wrong."
Was that the same person who was like, "Under Starmer, we're all gonna have to take it up the arse"?
I wonder if it was his re-reg. Yeah, that tweet sadly got deleted.
Lord Livermore, that's Spencer Livermore. He was a key advisor to Ed Miliband, which shows you that he's got infallible political instincts.
Doesn't exist. They just made him up. Stephen Timms is fucking working pension.
Weird face.
A man who looks very confused on his own parliamentary portrait. Yeah, that's about it so far. Non-minister. There's
Alan
some.
Milburn.
They've not announced any PPSs yet. Oh, Alan Milburn, of course, yeah, but he's...
Where's he listed? Non-ministerial?
Oh, this fucking... Right, sorry, I'm really, really, really angry now at Wikipedia for acknowledging this, but, like, they literally have the Prime Minister's office section. It's got, like, Chief of Staff Sue Gray, Director of Communications Morgan McSweeney, some other positions that will be announced to come. Chief Mouser to the Cabinet Office, Larry the Cat. He's been in... No, he'll be
off.
Dead soon. Sorry, like, you're 13 years old, you're a cat, dead soon.
No, they're just going to replace him with an identical
They'll
cat.
They'll realise he's the most left-wing person in Downing Street, and they'll kill him.
Larry's died like 15 times already, man. It's a cat-eat-cat world in Downing Street. And yeah,
it's like the Simpsons.
I don't know.
They've had the same cat for like 36 seasons.
Yeah,
no one's buying it.
I can't see Alan Milburn on there, but he's serving under Wes Streeting in the health brief, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. Or he's got some advisory role or something. They're bringing him on board anyway, and he's like the most comically corrupt of all the Blair era politicians, apart from Blair himself, which is saying a lot.
Yeah, let me get an extract from Tariq Ali's great book, The Extreme Centre.
Yeah, in the meantime, Blair himself, of course, have been all over the press saying, like, Kier Starmer needs to clamp down on woke and embrace AI because, like, just in case there were, like, 5 people in the UK that hadn't twigged that, like, Tony Blair is a movie villain, like a fucking Bond villain.
So Alan Milburn, when he was younger, he was on the so-called hard left. He ran a bookshop called Days of Hope after the Ken Loach film, Ken Loach miniseries, in fact, which was nicknamed Haze of Dope because he smoked so much weed in there all the time. Now, that guy sounds great, you say. And he does, indeed.
I think the specific rumour was everyone else that frequented the shop smoked loads of dope, and he just sort of sat there and tolerated it because he needed customers.
Well, regardless...
I think he was like a left-wing briefcase that became a right-wing briefcase.
Okay, well, what we do know, Tarek Ali writes, is that when he sold out, he did so in style, bidding to outdo even Blair and Mandelson in their appreciation of neoliberal politics and big money. This was no easy task, and unsurprisingly he failed. But he didn't do too badly. After a 5-year spell as health secretary, he collected his debts with alacrity, becoming a director of Coviden. This guy created the COVID-19 pandemic. Very Chinese company, I assume, which describes itself as a $10 billion global healthcare products leader. I mean, realistically, that's probably some American company. He is also a member of Lloyd's Pharmacy's healthcare advisory panel and sits on the European advisory panel of leading private equity firm Bridgepoint, which specialises in, you guessed it, healthcare investments. Milburn declared his income from these juicy appointments as over £30,000 a year from Bridgepoint, over £25,000 from Lloyd's Pharmacy, nothing listed for Coviden, so God knows how much he's milking off them, and over £20,000 as advisor to PepsiCo.
I love the fact there are all these like sinister sort of all the medical companies, the ones that are not too bad and those of them that are terrible, all have like really generic, airless, bloodless names. And then it's just like, yeah, and he was taking loads of money off Pepsi as well. Just in case anyone listens to I've not heard of any of these companies, I can't tell if he's evil or not.
Yeah. Well, we've got through all the cunts now.
Well, there's about 50 yet to be appointed. So
yeah,
we've got through all the cunts so far. There'll be new ones coming to light with all the new hires. I'm sure some of them will get PPS jobs and stuff. Right, okay.
Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us for 300 historic episodes. This has been the greatest podcast of all time, and it always fucking will be. Long live Jeremy Corbyn. And not the new flesh. Fuck the new flesh.
We stand in opposition, in exile against the hated Labour government.
Yeah, scumbags. There's more of a need for anti-centrist, anti-Starmer, anti-Labour content than ever. So check back in a couple of days when we recap the French elections with a couple of special guests. Peace and love, everyone. Real Politik out. Starmer out as well. Starmer out. Starmer out. Starmer. I will repeat what I said on Twitter. Calling for Kier Starmer to resign is one of my favourite things to do. So actually, I think it's great that he won.
Yep.
No more years.
Yeah. Sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about the US too much, but I'm sure there'll be much happening over there in the coming days.
Yeah,
I'm just still on the edge of my seat waiting to see if anything happens with this Biden thing.
I've got a feeling I've got a feeling next time the three of us record, he'll be either gone or they'll be in the process of actively knifing him rather than sort of trying to encourage him to step down with grace before they have to do it.
Yeah, I don't get how they could take out a young, healthy man in charge of his faculties in 1963. But now with all the technological advances, they can't even. I'll stop myself there. Thank you again for tuning in, everyone. Things have changed. I used to care, but things have changed. All right.